Welcome to LedeOff, a show where we aim to never bury the lead when discussing the topics that matter most. I'm excited to host this segment here on Athlete Ally's YouTube and across our social media channels. LedeOff is an opportunity to discuss current events and analyze the news relevant to the fight to make sports inclusive, accessible, and equitable for the LGBTQIA+ community. But just as, or perhaps more important to know, is what this segment isn't, what you shouldn't expect to find here. There will be no naming or shaming, and I, nor any of the guests appearing alongside me, will ever try to force you to feel some type of way about some type of topic. Instead, we'll continuously strive to create community through conversation and perhaps share a smile or laugh along the way. And with that, our journey together begins, and we lead off with the news that Athlete Ally has relaunched the Athlete Ally Pledge. The Athlete Ally Pledge is meant to be an entry point, a recommitment, and a reminder of the impact everyone can make in our immediate environments. At its core, the pledge is about foundational allyship, and taking it is more important than ever. I'm proud and lucky to have two members of the Athlete Ally staff here with me today to discuss it. Join me in welcoming Hudson and AT. How are you both?
Great. Excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you here. Hudson, we'll come to you first because this is a reimagination, right? A relaunch of something that existed previously. Talk to us about the origin story. Where did the pledge originate and why are we so excited and happy to be relaunching it now?
Yeah, a lot of people don't know this, but before there was an Athlete Ally, there was an Athlete Ally Pledge. Athlete Ally actually started with a pledge. And it was really based off of the belief that we affect change. When you look at the research around how you change behavior, there are two primary ways in which that happens. Number one is through the creation of role models, right? People who are modeling ideal behavior. And number two is through what we call a moral reminder. And a pledge is a moral reminder. It is that thing that says, wait, we have values, we have expectations, we know that we want to live and act in the world in a particular way, but we oftentimes lose sight of that. So the pledge was the thing that launched Athlete Ally. When I was visiting colleges across the country, high schools across the country, every school we'd go to, we'd say, sign the pledge and just give yourself that moral reminder to create a more welcoming space in sports for the LGBTQ community. And so I'm really excited to be relaunching it because I think while so much has changed and improved in the last 14 years since starting Athlete Ally, unfortunately, there's a lot that's still the same. LGBTQ athletes are not out to their coaches at the rates that we know that we'd want them to be. They drop out of sports a lot quicker than their non-LGBTQ counterparts. And so we really need to, I think, continue to double down on that moral reminder and pledge to do better.
And I think so we can actually, if we pull up the pledge, maybe go through it bullet by bullet and just help people better understand what it means, how they can take action, and kind of any key takeaways. Hudson, we can start again with you on the first one. When we talk about learning and being curious about people's interests, experiences, and identities, what do we mean?
Yeah, well, I'm even going to take us up in altitude super quickly just to say that when thinking about our theory of change and how we transform culture, a lot of Athlete Ally's approach now is thinking about self-determination theory. And that is all people have three universal needs: the need to feel competent in who they are and what they bring to a team, to an environment, the need to feel connected to the communities of which they are a part, and the need to have autonomy or agency in their life. And the pledge really tries to walk through that in some way. And so the learn and be curious is really about how do you give a person the feeling of competence in who they are and what they're bringing to the team. And that really comes through a form of just being curious about what people are experiencing in your life and on your team.
And AT, when we look at the second bullet, I feel like there's an emphasis or an importance on this word unique and uniqueness, right, to what this is really saying and what we're asking people to do. Talk to us just a little bit about the importance of bullet 2.
Yeah, I mean, well, uniqueness means the quality of being one of a kind or remarkable. And when we get to know each other as individuals, when we have the opportunity to witness identities and experiences that are different from our own, that I think is really powerful. There may be similarities, but not one life is exactly the same as the other. So respect allows for others to show up as their whole selves with dignity, and acknowledging the uniqueness of others is affirming their existence, which again is not just powerful, but it really is an essential part of team building. Is learning how to exist together, how to appreciate what we bring to the space, and like that those are helpful tools to the spaces that we're creating.
Yeah. And I think that's a good segue, because Hudson, as we think about how we create that, and we do so perhaps through bullet 3, right? Which is this idea of sharing one's values, intentions, and expectations with my peers. For folks wondering, why is that beneficial? What does that help achieve? And what's the message here?
Yeah, I always think about what adds up to an inclusive culture in kind of 3 chapters, right? How do we build safety? How do we share vulnerability? And how do we align on purpose? This 3rd bullet is really a bullet about purpose. What is our why? Why are we here? What do we expect from one another? And I think so often, if we don't have alignment on the why, then we're not going to have alignment on the what. So this is trying to help people become more intentional with, how do I want to be treated? How do you want to be treated? Let's talk about it and be really upfront and intentional about those expectations.
Yeah. And AT, I think one of the ways, to Hudson's point, this idea of creating that inclusive culture and the how and the why is around challenging language, right? And challenging behavior, which diminishes anyone's identity. Kind of talk to us just a little bit about what that helps do, or why it's so important to this work.
Yeah, so I know all of these are really important. This is probably my favorite one, or the one that I lean into the most, because like this is requiring us to take action in love, right? Like if someone says or does something that harms another person and we intervene to educate and correct that person, that is an act of love. That's showing care, and saying that I know you can be better. I want you to be better. I'm investing in you being better. In times when we do something that is not okay, and giving grace or support to be a better person, especially from people that we care about and trust, that is where transformation happens. So it also signals to others that they are valued and respected, because you are setting the expectation or precedent of what is appropriate or inappropriate behavior. So this is essentially like how we shape the cultures that we want to build and the environments that we want to be in.
And Hudson, I think to the last bullet, this is another example of that explicit work that we can do, right? And action that we can take. And as it reads, provide space and opportunity for people with different or less visibility, access, or influence than myself. Those words in that order make sense, right? Like I understand that, but for people saying, okay, how does that show up on a day-to-day basis? What does that mean for me? What is the message here?
Yeah. This is again another principle of kind of autonomy or agency, and it's really the trying to capture the realization that everybody has access to some spaces that other people may not have access to. Everybody has some degree of visibility that is not distributed equally to other people. So this is really a principle that tries to say, whoa, wait a second, like who's not at this table? Who's not being asked to speak? What door can I help open for the people in my life who are a part of my team, a part of my community, but for whatever reason aren't getting that same access and visibility that I'm able to enjoy. And there's so many everyday ways in which people can do that. Doesn't have to be, big grand gestures, but just that practice of creating that space, providing that space with whatever access you have, is how we're going to change sports culture.
Yeah. And so I think we think through these 5, right? 5 really important points, and we included them here for a reason, right? That we just talked through. ET, I want to come to you just for takeaways, key takeaways, calls to action, as folks better now understand what the Athlete Ally Pledge is and what these 5 points mean. And what are the takeaways and messages you want to leave with folks?
Yeah, this is exciting. I'm really excited for the relaunch of the Athlete Ally Pledge, which is an invitation. It's essentially an entry point to creating change. This commitment is a way to name your values, use these values on your team, in your communities, take action, and hold yourself to these standards. So challenge others in your networks to take the pledge. Use this as a talking point to evaluate the climate of your athletic department, and you actually don't need a policy or law to commit to these actions, right? Like, you don't have to wait for that. In this pledge and taking action, it starts with you and it starts with us.
Thank you, AT. Hudson, AT, I want to thank you both for joining. It's been a great conversation. I'm sure we'll do it again soon. But for now, I think I'll let you both go. And
Thank you. Take the pledge.
I want to reiterate AT's point around the importance of taking the pledge. I think at a time when allyship is of critical importance, I think this is just one practical step we can all take to better our communities and the environments that we're living in. So I want to thank everyone for watching this first episode of LedeOff. I can't wait to continue this journey with you.